Good morning, guys. Lonnie, Real Alcoholic. All right, let's try to recap everything we've done in these 12 steps, man. Let's see if we can keep this simple. It's telling us right here, chapter 5, how it works. It rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. That's their path, the one they put down in the book. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. This program is simple. It is not complicated. It took a good sponsor, man, to really show me the simplicity of this program. This daily way of living that has kept millions of chronic alcoholics from drinking again. So we told our stories, right? And in a general way, we said what it was like, what happened, and what we're like today. Now, if a person has decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. Now, if somebody doesn't want what we have, we do like the book says, we let it go at that. We stay friendly, but we have a spiritual program of action. And if somebody doesn't want that, they can find another program. AA has no monopoly on God. But if somebody wants what we have and they're willing to go to any length to get it, then they are ready to take certain steps. Now, of course, at some of these we balked. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. All right, so we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the start. If we're going to start this step process, we're going to go to any length. We're going to be fearless and thorough. We're going to start it and we're going to get through it. It's that simple. Some of us have tried to hold on to our old ideas, and the result was nil till we let go absolutely. Letting go of our old ideas. My concept of God wasn't working. I was a drunk. I was using the bathroom on myself, wide awake. Number 2, not number 1. My concepts were not working. My ideas about how to live life was not working. I was a drunk. I was caught in the insanity of alcoholism. So I had to be ready to let all my old ideas go. Put them away. We can revisit them later once I get through the steps. I can revisit some of these spiritual practices or my conception or views of life. I can revisit those later. Remember that we deal with alcohol. It's cunning, baffling, powerful. Without help, it is too much for us, but there is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find him now! Exclamation point. Now. May you find him now. And to find God. That's our purpose. That is the purpose of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's to develop a relationship with God. So half measures avail does nothing. We stood at the turning point. We asked his protection and care with complete abandon. We're at a turning point here. Before we get into this step 3, we are at a turning point. Am I now willing to abandon myself to God, to trust God, and to go through these steps? Here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of recovery. 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. All right, I'm powerless. I'm powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. I am powerless in the fact that when I put alcohol in my system, I have a medical condition called alcoholism. My body reacts differently than it does with other people. Scientists have studied this, and they know the inner workings of the mind. They know exactly which chemicals are being sent where, and the neural pathways and all that other good stuff. All I know is I know that when I put alcohol in my body reacts differently than it does to 90% of the rest of the world. I think the recent surveys is there's 10% of us that are real alcoholic. And that my life was unmanageable, Even when I do manage to get detoxed, I can go to treatment for 30 days, right? When I'm in a period of not drinking, I cannot manage my emotions. I can't manage these character defects, the pride, the impatience, the dishonesty, the lying. I can't manage those. I am irritable, restless, and discontent. I am a prey to misery and depression. And I can't understand why. And so I get so miserable that I end up drinking again. Or on the other hand, I don't know how to deal with the excitement that comes with life. I start feeling good. I get a little cocky. Alcohol's not a problem anymore. Well, maybe I can control and enjoy it this time. This insanity is my unmanageability. And yes, some of us can't manage our finances. Some of us can't manage jobs, families. Some of us end up with some severe circumstances surrounding our drinking. But my unmanageability is the fact that my insanity, the alcoholic mind, always led me back to the first drink. I was powerless to stay away from the first drink. My life was unmanageable. I was irritable, restless, and discontent. And another part of my unmanageability was this spiritual malady. The spiritual malady of not having a connection with God. The spiritual malady of letting my character defects, letting my emotions, letting my old ideas run my life, and things didn't go the way I wanted. I was miserable, so I found peace in the bottle instead of finding peace with God. And our whole object is to find God now. So I did my step one. I fully conceded to my innermost self that I was a real alcoholic. I have a medical condition. It's coupled with a mental obsession that when I am free from alcohol, I still can't stay away from it. When I have alcohol in my body, this physical craving kicks in. And I have no mental control over that physical craving. Once I'm free from alcohol, I have this mental obsession that I cannot find peace. I am irritable, restless, and discontent unless I can find peace. And I used to find that peace in a bottle. And I have a spiritual malady that needs to be overcome. And so step two, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. All right, we learned about the insanity. And more about alcoholism. The whole second part of that chapter is devoted to the insanity of alcoholism. The fact that I always return to the bottle, thinking I'm going to control and enjoy my drinking. Even when I know I'm not going to control and enjoy it, I return to the bottle because I need a night of peace. I need one night. I need a weekend of peace because I can't find it anywhere else. So in step two, the chapter, we agnostics, man, we come to believe that there is some kind of power. There is something. There is something happening with these alcoholics. There is something of a spiritual nature that is happening with these alcoholics that is pulling them out of insane asylums, treatment centers, jails, institutions, the streets, and setting chronic alcoholics back on their feet and restoring them to sanity. The most sane thing we can do, the sanity we're looking for, is to stop reaching for the bottle. And so there's a power out there. We don't understand this power. We can't define this power. But there's something happening in the hearts of these men and women. And that's what I came to believe in. So now step 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. I love pointing that out. As we, the writers of the big book, gave us some real simple conceptions of God. Spirit of the universe, spirit of nature, creative intelligence, creator, father, father of lights. We've got some real simple conceptions that the writers of the book had suggested. Okay. Now, whatever conception a person chooses, however they can visualize this power greater than themselves, that has no bearing on whether we stay sober or not. The only requirement for this third step is I'm going to quit playing God. I'm going to quit trying to decide what's best for you and what's best for me. And I'm going to go through these steps, hoping that God will remove from me whatever's blocking me from a relationship with God and my fellow human beings. And that's my third step. My third step is just quite as simple as I'm just going to quit playing God. Quit trying to arrange everybody to fit my little play. I quit playing God. And I'm going to try to get this relationship. I'm going to try to form a contact with this God as we understood him. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Here's the turning point for us alcoholics, is to make this searching and fearless moral inventory of myself. We know selfishness and self-centeredness is driven by 100 forms of, remember that, people. We have got 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-seeking, self-pity, dishonesty, and the list can go on. Pride, envy, greed, lust, gluttony, sloth, impatience, intolerance, critical, self-pity, negative thinking, right? We could go on. I use about 20-something of them. 20-something character defects is enough to set the ball rolling and get us to understanding what our problem is. And this moral inventory also comes with the opposites of these character defects, where I'll learn something about some virtues also. So I'm going to search my life. And step 4 gives me a real simple, remember, we have a simple program. Step 4 gives me a real simple inventory process. Who or what's making me irritable, restless, discontent? That's the first column. Second column is why. What did they do? What's going on? Third column is I got some basic instincts that are God-given. My self-esteem, my ambitions, my personal relations, my sex relations. All those are good things. Those are not bad. But what happens is they get interfered with, okay? And it shoots me into fear. Now I got a fourth column. A lot of people don't use the fourth column, but I do. It's a little check mark. I have to pray for these people. I have to. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. This person who is trespassing against me, this person who is upsetting me by their actions, making me irritable, restless, and discontent, I have to be able to forgive that person. That's what the sick man's prayer is in the fourth step. And that's why it comes before looking at our faults. As long as we're holding these resentments and we can't give these people forgiveness, there's no use even going through the next phase of this. We're not going to be able to see our character defect. And so the fifth column for me is character defects, and it's very simple. Dr. Bob had a list of character defects that he used when he took people through the steps. Bill W. had a list of character defects he used when he took people through the steps. Okay? I got a resentment against somebody. Why do I have this resentment? What are they doing? What instincts are being threatened? I pray for them. Now, was I prideful in this situation? Was I envious in this situation? Was I greedy in this situation? Was I ever impatient with this person? Was I ever critical of this person? Was I ever intolerant of this person? And when I see those, I write those down. And that's it. It's very simple. Doesn't have to be more complicated than that. 5, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Okay, now I did a 4 step. Now I know the exact nature of my wrong. The exact nature of my wrong is my instincts get threatened. I jump into fear, and then I jump into a character defect. These character defects are the exact nature of my wrong. The pride, the envy, the greed, the lying, the dishonesty, the impatience. That whole list that I was shown. I did my fear inventory. I did my sex inventory. Now I got something to go tell another person. Before God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of my wrong. The fact that I stole something is not the exact nature. The fact that I was verbally or physically abusive to somebody is not the exact nature. What was the character defect underlying that? What character defect was I living in either before the event, during the event, or after the event? Step 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. So by now, I know my defects of character. Am I ready to have God remove all of them? That's a question for the sponsee to ask himself between him and God. Do I still want to hang on to a little bit of pride? Maybe a little bit of greed? Maybe a little bit of lust? That's for each person to decide for themselves. Are they willing to have God remove all these defects of character? Step 7 is real simple. It's one prayer. I humbly ask God to remove these shortcomings, these character defects that I just learned. Am I going to pray for strength to operate in the opposite of these character defects? 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. No big deal there. I did a 4 step. I got a list of people that I hurt. If I've hurt somebody and there's no resentment in connection with it, I'm going to add them to this list too. Then 9, direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. I'm going to make these amends. I'm going to make these restitutions. I'm going to clean my side of the street and try to repair the damage I done. Except when to do so would injure them or others. I am not included in the them or others. I am not going to save my own ass and avoid an amends. 10, continue to take personal inventory when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. All right, I'm going to continue to take a personal inventory. And if I'm wrong, I'm going to promptly admit it and make amends. So in step 10, I'm going to repeat all of this. My inventory process is not just step 4. My inventory process continues. So in step 10, I'm going to do these every day. one short paragraph. Page 84 tells us how to do step 10, which is repeat these. Now that I got a process, now that I got a pattern, I got my 5 columns. Who, why, what instincts are threatened, pray for these people, and my character defect. Am I jumping into fear? Probably so. Step 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. Pages 86 to 88 give us direct, clear directions on how to meditate. And if I do those, then I can maintain this relationship with God. If I don't, it doesn't matter how long I sit in lotus position. It doesn't matter how many deep breaths I take. Doesn't matter how many times I go to the chapel and lay on the floor prostrate before the Holy Eucharist. None of that matters. If I am not practicing what's on pages 84 to 88, none of that extracurricular seeking God stuff matters. "12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. By the time I get to step 12, I've had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. Steps 1 through 11. Not as a result of anything else. I was in counseling for a long time. Serious about it, honest about it. I never had a spiritual awakening. I had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. I was in church for a long time. I never had a spiritual awakening. I had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. And we tried to carry this message. This message. The book lined out 7 chapters. How to go through these steps. That's the message I try to carry. And to practice these principles. To practice these steps. These steps are the principles we live by. Many of us exclaim, "What in order? I can't go through with it." Do not be discouraged. No one among us has been able to maintain anything like perfect adherence to these principles. To what principles? The steps. That's why we get to practice every day, 1 through 9. We practice them. We practice them. We practice them 1 through 9 every day. We are not saints. Yet. That's what I throw in. I always throw in yet. Because when I did my 6th step, I was entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Am I there yet? No, I'm not. Because the point is that we're willing to grow along spiritual lines. These principles, the steps, we have set down in the book. So this guideline, these steps in the book, we have set down are guides to progress. We claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. Amen, amen, amen. Okay, guys, I think that's going to be my last one for a while. I really have some schoolwork I need to get busy on, take advantage of my downtime. So it's been a pleasure, people. Man, take it easy. Hit me up if you need something. All right, guys. Bye.